You know, you need something big enough. Oh, this is shady.
He hit it, but it was by
Here it comes. I like that.
my leverage is going back and
Are there any charges? So I was worried on it. Funny how the village tries for Peter in the summer. What's your role?
Yeah, we've been trying to get with my dad.
That's the new job.
I'll talk to you about this because we're trying to figure out like logistics. I don't know. Is make it appear like typically most delivers everybody on the red card activity. Check it.
Brent's got those images, got them on Monday.
Oh yeah?
First question. By the bumpers, what size pipe?
I'm going to take the one out and say, give me this. But you know where I never
It comes to that, we're going to stay next thing, Sunday,
That's where all the trees stand. There's only 8 for that. Accommodate 3 times that each.
Send an email so Todd knows too.
Here's an idea. I'm going to contact the Rangers and see if they can give us like a preseason. I do. Yeah. I know the guy's in charge of their group site. I just booked a ticket to the group for November 3rd. So he'll know how to get his GM though. Right. Not the coach. He did it for the chamber here. Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, if you can pass it, reach out to them.
I'll do an email introduction and I'll see what's going on. It'd be nice to have them come in and tell us what they got planned for that.
Yeah, you can tell them numerous members of the club are season.
But I said, just, you know, when we get a little closer, let me know. So the dates were all set aside away.
What's it called? Jaworski's running for running for mayor again. Get him to come in. We can twist his arm, can't we?
Dog friendly, I know it's, we're gonna have kayaks.
Let's beat him. Yeah, say Dave. She's up dog Rotary.
You want to go to St.
I know you hate the dog.
Well,
I'm not here.
that's a little too far. It is
I've got,
nice, we're gonna make our way up
I
there.
talked to Owen, Raymer, and Christie on Monday night. He'll come in and talk to us about some of these things. That'll be a mind-blowing presentation because we'll recognize some of the Queen's anniversary or whatever it was. Carl again? Carl was
Steering wheel. Yeah, it was really surprising.
talking about the city?
Yeah,
looking at this.
Innovative.
Yeah.
It's the wipers and the service.
Innovation lab.
Like, you need to turn on the wipers.
Is it yours?
Well, I just said, I'm not going through a roundabout, like, forget it. I won't say it, but I don't know how to get out.
Because when they get involved in company programs, they take the rest of it.
I'm assuming we sold that one flight to the company. See where I placed it, okay with anybody? Okay.
Like it just, magnetic backwards, you know.
Because you gotta kinda get like this kind of
Thursday,
Because people like the memory of that time.
It was a real guessing game, the first time you do this.
Where'd you put it?
What church?
Yeah.
Right on Charles Street.
Right here.
All the time.
I'll put you up. These flags are like 6 feet tall. It's all in the front of its business. The flag poles are 25 feet high with like huge flags. And I put this tiny little Canadian flag.
My in-laws
And I'm really mad at whoever, somebody sold one flag. It's like the last address you can have and still be before you're in Bradford. It's so far away. I don't know who sold it. I don't know if they just found it.
And I don't know if there was
It's,
with the rental company.
you gotta go all the way down Franklin to Dundas and then you even go out of town a bit. To the suburb, like the way out there. It takes a half hour to get there. My son likes it though because it has a nice flavor. You know, I get the problem.
Maybe what you do is, when you do something like that, you take yourself out. We'll get some flyers for the
Try to get a few more, yeah, try to get a few more in the neighborhood.
Basically, you get off, you're not driving, you can walk around.
Make it worth the trip.
Lakes there, you can have lunch when you get there.
Yeah, way
Kids
back.
were young, right, so they could run around LA for a couple of hours.
I understand
Shouldn't have to
the,
rely on pharmacy skills to keep your kids quiet.
and
9-hour drive.
Yeah, so we're full.
we run a bingo at the Waterloo nights every once in a while.
We always do.
Out of Naples bottle.
We already have a bingo team. We're at the gaming center.
It's a joke, right? Yeah, but it's like,
And just like what we do.
Yeah, but except we have 6 guys. They do the afternoon ones weekdays.
it's pretty funny.
Saturday night lunch.
It is a Saturday
We've
night.
been doing it for years. But I didn't know you guys were doing it.
Really great. One-year-old German Shepherd.
Mm.
They're for lunch, so they come around and pick your orders. So, it was the, Lucy's defined communication. So all of a sudden, everyone's getting fed, my mail comes out. Right, you got that day I ordered soup.
I'm sure other people have done it.
Like with the soup. And that's like when right? So then they won't do anything. I'm speaking. I come sit back down and I've got like 6 different days and some people are like speaking. It's a soup's on the roof. Forget that I'm trying to bust the first.
I don't know where.
One summer we packed up and went to.
Oh, yeah, you do a lot of
Car all
stuff
loaded up
there.
and I had the dog kennel loaded up.
It was quite 12, 12, 10, 12, 15, right? He's gonna be in the front seat on the.
He just kept trying to give me a fresh
Oh, no, and I know that he's trying to get people like here by 1. Like, it could be that quick. There's a video that I decided I've started using. It's a worldwide thing, it's a worldwide video. And I think what's great about it is it shows people doing the impact for anyone. For Jay is in 120 years, you know, we always had a doc. Usually a hunting type, and just to put in perspective, right? And then in the PowerPoint, I talk about us locally, what we do here.
Yeah, I wrote in the front.
So many people
Yeah, you wrote in the front.
who've had exposure and know of Jay. Like Everton, who've been involved when they were in their high school years in comfort public.
Or no, right now, yeah. There's a weird, we're at West Coast.
I was. Oh, the
The
magic.
old one.
3 out of 25.
You're old.
It's moved over time, obviously.
Yeah.
I know in the past few years, we've been Waterloo. Last year, we did the Waterloo locations at Rotary, and the Lazarene is small. So it's a great spot. It's good for you. This is my kids, a lot of girls in the business building, right? And we're at Conestoga College in Cambridge, and I'm working on trying to see if we can get it moved down to the organization like other on the campus. And then a phenomenal place to be able to continue to shoot, right?
The can is, you just have to talk to this Brian.
And you did 5 from this position, and then everybody moved down 1 in the end person, so that you were always shooting from a different angle. But it took a long time to get
There's a
it
gentleman, I
done.
guess, who's
One person would do,
or
we'll go through
sorry,
5,
name escapes
and then
me.
go down.
Scott Higgins.
Half an hour to get 5 to get some.
That's what I mean, he knows everybody. Like,
But you guys do it from different
So-
angles. Some people were better at one.
They're busy, but I gotta talk to Brian this week anyway.
You know how the whole thing started?
I didn't.
I went and met with the people in Economic Development in City Cambridge, right?
It was taking too long, I just went to the bar.
And
No,
a
but
good
then
friend
fall.
of mine, Rotary, Steve, officer there. So he takes me there. They're small, going in.
That's like old time.
Interrupted.
Probably like Sioux City.
And Cambridge City Garage. Now you walk in, they've got big open space. Like literally on the one side, close space on, there's 2 classrooms. It's really functional space. Opens outside on the patio. And it's a really nice space. So we're gonna be running our summer camp.
There are
It's
people.
always just gonna fish there, right? Changing the thinking, because my original conversation with somebody was, well, why don't we legalize it? We'll pick up kids at board. And she looked at me, she goes, why don't we bring our camp here?
You should talk to Cambridge, you should talk to Marine.
Oh,
Cambridge always gets the short end of the deal.
We do a little more programs in Cambridge than we do in
Roger,
Bristol.
you know.
Fish on the wall. Pictures,
You have your own person. I don't know if I need any more.
You know what I've gone through in the summer? I mean, I go cool coffee. Every morning I get up and put a quart over a bit of ice, but it's already cold, it's already in the refrigerator. For that, what it is.
Oh, no, there you go.
Too much work.
Thanks, it's right there.
Have you ever,
I'm just wondering if you've been approached by.
Do they drink cold coffee in Albania called frappe? Like that's in Greece, that's all it is, frappe.
Fish fry, horseshoe.
And the best coffee I've ever had was in South.
Well, I would hope so.
It was strange, it was warm,
Everybody's
creamy
like.
stuff, it was 50%,
What do they use for the
unbelievable. What, it was cream.
When I went to Costa Rica a few years back, holy cow. Like, you go to some little roadside shack and you see one of those old aluminum percolators just sitting there and you think, oh my god, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee. It's the best coffee in every single place. Because they think coffee grows everywhere.
Yeah, no, I would love to.
It's like frozen meat.
Really?
Came in, he gave a presentation. Class, history that day? No, business, sorry. Nice, very nice. You might be a good place to There were 6 of us who went, and that was the only reason we went. To see didn't work, but
Hell of an effort.
it was, but I paid them anyway, so 60%.
Yes, it's not really good. All the ones that
That's what I tell my kids. That's not the person. Go meet the girls.
all the ones that didn't.
There were a lot that got
But apparently they weren't studying.
My kids now, all about these party rockers. Ever heard of these?
Yeah.
They're little teeny bopper dances, queen dances, like for 13-year-olds. Called party rockers. They have them at Country Hills. Country Hills Community Center. So I gotta drive them across town. But literally 200 little kids show up at these places.
And what's happening to them?
Oh, it's just a little, it's like a little. There's like 30 chaperones in there. There's almost as many chaperones as kids.
Yeah, and when we were growing up, the Super King 7, whatever I brought Mark, they used to have a Friday night thing called the Bit, and that was just for underage kids, and the parents couldn't go and trust them.
This one is actually,
It used to be the much needed video games. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah. When I was in high school, we did that stuff. But I mean, this is like, it's just, they call it party rockers. It's just, and they all stand in the same room and text each other back and forth from across the room. Every once in a while, somebody gets into the middle of the room like, wow, he's in the DMZ. But I always mess with my kid. I'm like, if you don't get 3 phone numbers, you don't even come home. Don't even come home.
Working now? We spoke about Allison and the Dragon Boat Race, so there's a little card here. And just to point out on the back, it says, P.S. on 6:45 p.m. July the 4th, CTV will be interviewing the team. So,
July the 4th, day late the dollar card there.
oh yeah, well, sorry, I only got the mail today.
We're going to Italian postal delivery service. Yeah, we're going to send it. We're going to send it.
I didn't realize what he said. July 4th.
No, one wasn't.
Florence.
Oh, what?
Yeah. My aunt was there too, and the funny thing she said was like 4,000 people, 40 pockets.
So, for members' birthdays,
40.
we have one birthday that fell in this week, Maria Taylor.
4,000 people.
Spouse's birthdays. Maria, what were you doing yesterday?
What was I doing yesterday? What was I doing yesterday?
We were celebrating. I hope we were celebrating Mark's birthday.
Yeah, we were celebrating. We celebrated on the weekend before, but yes, birthdays are so nice to celebrate.
Perfect. We have no wedding anniversaries, but club anniversaries. Todd Aitchison, 15 years, on July the 22nd. And Bob Kieswetter. Bob here?
Yep.
Bob, how many years for you?
150. Give me the bottle.
I'll make 100. No, sorry, it's not, it's 15 years too, the same day. We have a little bit of mail that came in. First of all, we've got a letter here from Concordia Choir thanking us for our ongoing donation of $1,000. And I suspect they'll be really happy when that happens again this year. We have a letter of thanks from the Waterloo Region Suicide Prevention Council for our $3,300 donation that used for the safe talkie training. And there's actually, matter of fact, I think maybe we'll pass that one around too. You can take a look at that. Is there anyone that would like to add some business to the agenda today?
Should you mention something about the attire that we can order?
Maria,
Site
please.
yet? Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that Everton is the link on their site. Oh, so we're in business. If you would like to order any Kitchener Westmount attire, including golf shirts, there's a couple different qualities and price points. Short sleeve, long sleeve, little zip-up jackets, fleece ones, more fall ones, baseball caps or golfing caps. It's all available to us now, and the idea is we can go onto our club sites. There's a link there that will bring you straight to all the different images of the items, prices, and I'm hoping that everybody will, over the next few weeks, either call me if you're having troubles getting onto this site, or we can maybe do a little presentation on actually how to get onto the site. If not, you pick what you like, you put your own credit card in, of course you pay for it yourself, and then at the end of the month, all the orders will be processed on the 30th of August, and they'll arrive here by, say, the 14th or 15th of September. So I hope everybody likes the options there, and you're welcome to give me some feedback.
Maria?
Yep.
It's our club website or Club Runner?
Both. It's on
yeah.
Club Runner website, and you go to the members, there's a link right there, and if you scroll down, there's a whole section that you can click, and on rotarykw.com, it's right there too. Can't miss it.
So I just decided to do one bulk order for the end of the month so that we can keep the prices down so everyone doesn't have to pay their own shipping.
Thank you. Everett, do you have something you want to add? That was it?
So you go on the site, pick what you like.
50-50 draw. Here we go.
And I'll bring you
The pot grows. We're drawing today for $98. Okay, last four numbers, 4292.
Good.
Fixes it.
Do I stand a chance?
Too bad. Who was that? You?
4300.
That's mine.
All right.
Let's pick that one, Dave.
I didn't mean to take that.
Thanks for taking one more out of that. 4309.
You just be disappointed.
Lucky table. Do it.
One free chance.
Nobody in our table buy tickets, so that's why it's on.
And the pot will grow for next week.
I'm surprised Laura didn't get up.
They tell me the pot will grow until the week I'm on holidays, and then maybe I could call up Jairus to introduce our speaker.
Excuse my back, everybody.
I'd like to welcome our speaker today, Brian Beckless. Brian is the President and CEO of Junior Achievement Waterloo Region. Brian is a longtime resident of Waterloo Region and brings a wealth of public and private sector experience to the job. His career spans several senior leadership roles in the post-secondary education sector and the financial services industry. He holds a BA and an MBA from Wilfrid Laurier University, where he also once served as the Director of Alumni Relations. Brian has a background in marketing, sales, business development, and partnership management. He's also a certified Level 2 ringette coach and serves on the board of directors of the Ontario Ringette Association. Welcome, Brian.
I'm going to, Everton helped me earlier, I'm going to pull up a video I shared a few minutes ago with those buttons. Close? Okay. I don't have my glasses on. It should. Technology.
Thank you.
Right down there in the lower left. That's the first hit. Yeah, it's just a slide. I was just hoping that otherwise we're on the line. Okay. I don't know what the PR committee is about. Yeah, public relations. Okay. Both can figure it out together. Sounds good. I'm away after this for 2 weeks again. I'm away. Okay. The first 2 from
That's it, I'm leaving.
Obviously, the kids didn't put this together.
Just upload this to a YouTube channel and then just go to YouTube.
It's weird because we tested it before we started.
Maybe you have to shut it down and reboot them.
It's raised.
I usually figure that if you can't fix it with a hammer, it's an electrical problem.
See what we had to do now. You can't fix it with a hammer, it's an electrical problem.
Sometimes it's an electrical problem.
Before I go through the PowerPoint first, let's speak briefly. I mentioned at the table previously, Junior Achievement is a worldwide organization, for those that might not be familiar, and it's in 122 countries around the world. I was mentioning earlier to Everton that this summer in London, the last week of August, there's a national forum, but it's an international forum. Now we've got kids coming from Europe, Jamaica, Mexico, so it's pretty unique. There'll be about 150 high school students
all there together for a week at this conference. And it's truly obviously a sign of working, and Everton had asked me because he remembers attending one when he was younger, and it was national, and meeting friends and making friends and colleagues from across the country. Obviously today with the use of technology, those friendships in some ways probably last longer, in some ways maybe not so long with the use of email and everything else. So what I'm going to do is speak briefly to you then about what we do here in Waterloo Region. Everton something? There we go. There you go. So our mission, and again, it's a worldwide mission, is to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in the new global economy. So obviously straightforward. Junior Achievement has been in Waterloo Region for 48 years. So in 2020, we'll celebrate our 50th anniversary, and committed to providing financial literacy programming to our region's youth. Train volunteers, deliver experiential learning programs to students grades 5 to 12 in financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. Has anyone in this room, just give me a sense of show of hands, who have been a volunteer with JA previously? A volunteer, just gives me a sense. Okay. Most people that would volunteer would be familiar with our in-class programs, where you go into a classroom for typically a day, half day, and teach one of our programs. And then there's our after-school programs. I'll expand on both of those briefly in a moment. We rely on volunteers, corporate partner support, and donations to deliver our mission. Our company program is an after-school weekly program which provides an experiential opportunity with no risk to the high school students. There's no cost to the high school students. To give you an idea, last year here in Waterloo Region, we had just under 100 students involved. Those 100 students formed 6 companies, and those 6 companies build products, sell products, and at the end of the 20-week term, they literally close down the company. I was sharing earlier with Everton, what are those chargers called? That's idea like you guys know you can buy them at like Canadian Tire anywhere.
Oh, like just USB power chargers.
USB power chargers? One of the student groups made a USB power charger and was selling them on the market, using like cases on them, and they used a 3D printer to print the cases from them. They were using recycled batteries from laptops. So they're quite innovative as to what they do. Obviously, they learn experiential entrepreneurial skills and really learn how to run a business. As I mentioned earlier, it's hands-on. They get opportunities to present their company and their product to local dragons. And it's a team of knowledgeable and experienced mentors work with the students over the 20-week program. The people that volunteer and give of their time for this is a huge commitment. It's like you being a Rotarian. You think of 20 weeks, I describe it to people as it's a night class for 20 weeks that those kids decide to do on their own just to learn, right? And appreciate that opportunity. And we offer it in 3 different locations here in Waterloo Region. In Waterloo, last year we moved it, we're back there again this year, to the new Lazaritas Hall, which is great obviously for Laurier School of Business, showcasing that facility to young kids from grades 9 through 12. In Kitchener, we're at Walter Fady Group. Walter Fady opens their doors to us on Wednesday evenings, and the students are there on Wednesday evenings. And the Cambridge location right now, I'm negotiating and trying to see, but we've got a great space at Conestoga College on their main campus. And for those that know, that's not really in Cambridge. I mean, it's right on the edge of Cambridge. So I'm in discussions to hopefully try and get it moved down further into the core of Cambridge, where it's just easier for people to get to and more central to Cambridge itself. So our in-class programs is where we spend a lot of time and energy. Our priority obviously is to deliver into the schools in our region that have higher needs. So I outline here that I've worked with the 2 school boards to identify what they term, depending on what you want to use, but at-risk youth, underprivileged kids. So there's a list of schools that we've come up with that identify 48 elementary schools. That 48 schools equates to about 250 classrooms. And the reason that it's not simple math, one year a school could have 2 grade 7 classes and 2 grade 8s, and the next year, they could merge a 6 and a 7 together and only have, so it depends on what happens in the schooling system. I don't know if everybody here is familiar, but in the Catholic board, all the schools are K to 8 and then 9 to 12. In the public board, most of their schools in the elementary side are K to 6, then it's 7 and 8 middle school, and then the high school. Although the public board, as they build new schools, are going K to 8. So
it's a blend in there, obviously, what that has, but what the balance of our programs is getting trained community volunteers that'll deliver our existing programs and teach financial literacy and sound management habits into the grades 7 and 8 students. So that's the focus of what we've been doing. Just obviously is a little depiction of our two programs that we focus on, one called Dollars with Sense, and the other called Economics for Success. And people might have been familiar or exposed to those previously. There's some unique pieces about them, and all the programs were upgraded or updated in 2015, 2016. So as an example, today when you talk about financial literacy and Dollars with Sense, think of kids. I was in a classroom, grade 7 class before Christmas, and I said, so you're talking 12 and some 13-year-olds before Christmas. I said, how many of you bought something online? Half the room's hands go up. I said, how do you know the site you're on was safe, right? So we educate them obviously on part of it, because purchasing online, as many youth do today, is part of learning about financial, obviously, and what's being said, what's a safe site, what's not. Most of them were purchasing off of Amazon, so there was a safer feeling that way in the classroom, but it just gives you a sense that the curriculum and the materials that are being taught are current, right? They're talking about today. One of the pieces talked really briefly about cryptocurrency. Again, the kids brought it up themselves in the classroom. So the previous school year, I can share with you this year, we delivered to just over 5,200 students that we reached locally in the community. So in the previous year, which is where the figures, I hope everyone can understand, the school cycle just ended at the end of June. So we had 5,200 students this year, teaching them about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. Our goal was to reach 6,000. For a number of reasons, we didn't get funding. We didn't get funding that we thought we were going to get, which obviously has a direct effect on the number of classrooms and number of kids that we reached. Right. The average cost to deliver a JA program into one of the classrooms in Waterloo Region is about $700. So it's just, you take into effect, people ask me about that. So let's say we took this entire table and you all went to training. We usually typically do a lunch and learn. So we do a lunch and learn, and all 6 of you came. It's different if that staff member trains 6 at a time versus 1 at a time, right? So you look at our costs, obviously, overall, with our staff time, obviously it's volunteers that teach our program and the program materials, right? So the impact of junior achievement, and this is a pretty neat slide. A lot of this would have been highlighted in the video. So JA students are 50% more likely to own their own business, which leads to innovation, new jobs, and wealth creation. JA students are 3 times more likely to hold senior and middle management positions. JA students are 50% more likely to start their own business. They're 3 times less likely to spend more money than they earn. And 75% of JA students state that JA programs have had a significant impact in the development of their financial literacy and decision-making skills. And for every $1 invested into JA, there's a $45 return to our economy. It's interesting for me, all of that came from research that was done here in Canada. And I was on a phone call a few months ago with the president of JA South America, a gentleman out of Brazil. And I'm new to JA, I've been there 9 months now. And I didn't pick up that the president of South America was making reference to these stats when he talks in their community. And obviously he's had some people challenge that, right? So, but these are Canadian stats and the feedback from research work that was done back in 2012. And that's it for the presentation part. And I'm here to answer any questions. The biggest piece I could say to this group of Rotarians is, if you're interested at all in volunteering, I've brought just simply like a postcard, just talks about the volunteer opportunity. And it obviously, for us to continue to grow and get into more classrooms, we need help of volunteers and community-based volunteers. I had a meeting as an example this morning at Equitable Life. When I leave here, I'm going to Economical. Economical has been a long-time supporter of junior achievement here in our community. So wanted to leave with this. And Leo has been helping me, and Leo's going to speak briefly to it, but junior achievement 4 years ago, this will be our 4th, took over the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame event. You're actually the first group that I'm going to speak to about this, because it's not been released yet, but there's 3 people from our community that are going to be inducted into the Waterloo Region Entrepreneur Hall of Fame.
One is Alan Corey, 2 is Carol Lehman, and the 3rd person being inducted is Vernon Erb from Erb Transport. So those are the 3 people that will be inducted at the Hall of Fame dinner, which is in early November. And Leo has graciously agreed to help me out with that here in the community, to obviously to sell tables, sell seats, to promote the event in our community. It's something obviously it's important. So Junior Achievement took that event over 4 years ago. Previously, just a quick history, Communitech had started it in 2006. For whatever reason, I don't know the reason, but in 2012 they shelved it. My predecessor came from Communitech to JA, and if you look across Canada, there's 16 Junior Achievement charters, we're called, so locations across Canada. Every single one of them runs a Business Entrepreneur Hall of Fame, either a Business Hall of Fame or an Entrepreneur Hall of Fame.
When's that dinner?
It's on November the 1st. Sorry, and
I just do that.
I have. Does anybody have any questions for me on the presentation at the back?
You mentioned, I think there were 100 kids that broke into 6 groups and tried to make some products and market them and so on. Did they ever focus on the service sector at all, or is there always a product?
No, it absolutely has been on the service. Now, appreciate that I've only been with JA for 9 months.
Yeah.
It absolutely have worked, I know, in the past on service sector.
Okay.
And looking at the, you know what's kind of unique about it, right, is that the youth, what I've observed, so I went to one of the first nights last year, and you can appreciate kids come, as Everton remarked, can I share your remark from the table? When Everton joined the company program, back when he was a grade 10, he said he did it to meet girls. Right? that was his remark at sitting around the table, right? And you get kids who come from all different schools, so all of a sudden, because what they do is they pick obviously location, right? So if Tuesday nights don't work well for me, but Mondays do, well, then I go to the one at Laurier right now, right? So there was probably close to 50 kids at the Laurier one, and then they're gonna put them into teams, right? Teams become companies. And those kids figure out like what they want to do. And that example I used before, obviously there was one young man on that one team that had that kick that like he knew how to resource this stuff, bring it in from China, because some of the transistors I think that were involved in making them. I mean, when I saw the casing, I wish I had one. I do have one, but I didn't bring it. But if you saw the casing on it, like it's a professional product that you would walk into Best Buy and purchase, right? And kudos to kids to having that creativity and using recycled laptop batteries, right? So yeah, no, they're always thinking and looking and obviously introducing different ideas and concepts, and it's changed over time. I think everyone in the room could probably appreciate when I say it's changed over time. Years ago, Everton shared with me, and I knew this type of thing. They would make stuff with wood products, right?
What kind of person?
Why don't we let this go then for a second? Let's go 2 minutes.
What about a leader? Or maybe a job creator? Would any of them make the cut? What if I told you that we help 10 million young people achieve their goals every year, all over the world? And in turn, they create jobs and prosperity. JA has been preparing young people for successful careers since 1919. You find us all across the globe, in more than 100 countries. We're getting young people ready for work. And we get results. Our students go on to excel as professionals, taking control of their lives and careers, and some even succeed beyond their wildest dreams. JA students learn to do things like balancing a budget, negotiating deals, setting goals, and working in teams. It's hands-on learning from professionals with real-life work experience. All our programs are based in 3 fundamental principles: work readiness, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. For example, in JA Company program, young people learn how to start and run a business. In JA Job Shadow, a student joins a mentor in a professional work setting. And students in the JA More Than Money program study the ins and outs of earning, spending, and saving. And these are only 3 of the more than 50 different programs that JA offers. Our network of staff, volunteers, and partner schools reaches young people all over the world, from major cities to rural communities and everywhere in between. And it works, because we pay attention to the needs in each region, and then we customize our programs so that JA students will be ready for the job markets they're about to enter. We even customize our own name, but at the end of the day, we're all one JA, JA Worldwide. And the core of our organization is the same everywhere. JA inspires and prepares young people to succeed in the global economy. Whoever they are, wherever they are, JA activates young people for the future of jobs.
Thanks for putting the microphone there, and thanks Everton for that other helping out with that. I think that I like using the video. Does that stand? I like using the video because of how powerful it is and shares, right, a great story.
How do I know if my kid's school is involved with this?
So
and how do I force my kid's school to do it?
No, it's good. So what grade? What grades are they in?
7 and 8.
Okay. So if you tell me, and I'm saying, like, I can make sure. I'll tell you, one of my first meetings was a really funny meeting. I met with Toyota, and I had this meeting with Toyota, and the lady was so excited when she found out about company program. She wanted to reach across the table and grab me. Like, how does my daughter get involved in this, right? And I think parents sometimes see what the effect can have, and to teach them. I mean, I had a conversation yesterday. It's a perfect example with the Waterloo Catholic School Board, and this is what, she's not a superintendent, it was Margot. And Margot says to me, she goes, Brian, she said, we need to be educating our youth even more so today on financial literacy, right? And I'm touching on that because what we found, and what happens is, if we can touch them in grades, and I think everybody here is aware, if you're not, kids in grade 8 need to choose what they're gonna take in high school, the stream that they're gonna take, right? So if we can touch them in grades 7 and 8 being the focus, because when you talk about financial literacy, you talk about entrepreneurship, you talk about entrepreneurs. The models the kids work on in their teams in the classroom are on entrepreneurs. So they get exposure, there's obviously overlap, right? What's work readiness? Well, that work readiness is different career opportunities, right? So it's educating those kids on all those opportunities. But you can definitely flip me an email and I'll find out for you. And then what happens, and this happens to us sometimes, parents will send us an email. Can you make sure you get into my daughter or son's classroom, right? And that parent sometimes, and not to be, but sometimes we might already be there, but sometimes if we aren't, that parent can help us open that door, right? Any other questions, or?
Right. So you're saying that the future generation holds that not all children aspire, people aspire to be professional gamers, poker players, and YouTube channels? Is it
YouTube, they all want to be.
Aspire is one thing. I mean, not the obviously we all, I think probably most people in this room have some exposure to youth in some capacity, right? It's pretty unique. I'll tell you what, I was pretty proud to be at we had a wrap-up dinner with that group of students, and to see what they produced and the camaraderie they had, but knowing what their outcome was. Like, all of the companies made money. Like, those kids make money. They buy shares in their company. Like, that piece, Everton can expand on it way better than I can, because the same model is being taught today, right? Leo had experienced the same model at a younger age. But it's so true, right? Because it truly is building a business and understanding how a business operates from, like, I mean, marketing, sales, finance side, the whole gamut, right? Production, right? And they obviously, they run it as a company. They're small companies, obviously, you know, and they can't create anything like too large, but I've heard that there are some that have done on the service side previously. Okay?
So I have a question. So, do you have any information of what the demographic of the people that attend the program is, and whether you need to implement, like actively implement policies to ensure diversity?
So I can tell you something. The diversity in here locally is huge. I was kind of surprised. It was definitely, and not to be, but when you're saying this, male, female, you're thinking, or everything?
Everything. Like
And it was everything. There's a
different
great
social
balance of,
backgrounds,
yeah,
racial.
absolute ethnic backgrounds, everything. I mean, and I know this obviously just, I've gotten to know some of the students, not that, but you know, small number, but even going and attending the dinner as an example where there was 92 students there, right? A lot of parents, the mentors, that's where you truly see everybody from all 3 nights. And yeah, great diversity and involvement.
Maybe Everton can give us a clue as to the male-female ratio.
More males than females back then.
It was a different time.
Yes.
He still had hair back then.
Brian, on behalf of our club, I'd like to thank you for speaking to our club today about your achievement. I certainly didn't realize that was so broad and global reach. So, and I really appreciate the fact that it's having such a positive impact on young people in our community. So, what we typically do for thanking our speakers is we have restored the eyesight of a gentleman in Kenya who's 89 years old in your name.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to comment for your knowledge in the company program, like you do touch on everything. Even we had a point in my second year where we didn't think the wages we were being paid, which you paid very small wages, it was like 25 cents an hour or something. It's just, and we went on strike and for 3 weeks and we did no production. And we then realized what it was costing the company by being on strike. And you know, it was real world, and we quickly had to say, okay, we're gonna have to live with this 25 cents, or otherwise we're not gonna learn anything at this point. But it is a great program. There's so many different areas that you touch, every area of business and level. It's excellent.
So what did you make?
First year we had this dowel game where we had to move the dowels. We had a pitcher cube. The worst product we ever made was a helping hand. Just a hand on a piece of vinyl, said helping hand on a dowel. And, I don't know, it was smart back then.
Back scratcher?
It wasn't even a back scratcher. You'd use it to slap stuff. It was more decoration. And I can't remember, we did one other product, but we did really well, and we finished 3rd overall. But it was just a learning experience of it, and setting your budget, and working your deals with whoever you're buying your stuff with. Like anything you could think of business, these kids touch on it in the program, and it's really rewarding.
So we have these cards here for anybody that would like to volunteer with JA. I'll leave the cards over here on the table beside the parking passes, so when you remember to pick up your parking pass when you leave, these will be right beside it. The other thing I'd like to remind, next week is Boathouse. We are not here for our meetings next week. We'll be at the Boathouse in Victoria Park. So remember that parking there sometimes is a challenge. So consider that maybe ahead of time, that you might want to maybe get there a little bit earlier than you normally come so that you can find some place to park. And other than that, if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, adjourned.